Minnesota is in the news because the party chairwoman stepped down. Let's rewind a little bit, though, because somebody was telling her that she was doing such a great job, and we'll get into the job that she was doing and why she had to resign. Bradley, if you want to bring us former President Trump. Oh, I can't hear that.
Oh, there we go. GOP chairwoman Jennifer Carnahan. She's been incredible.
Been incredible, folks.
Been incredible. There she is. She's the woman in the blue dress.
Are we gonna win? In 13 months, she said, honestly, sir, I've never seen anything like this. It's gonna be easy. Don't ever say. Just assume we're like 2 points behind, okay?
Mm-hmm.
2 points behind. You never, ever, please. You always just assume you're a little behind. But we're gonna win this state by so much.
That's good enough. Trump did not win this state by any, let alone so much. They lost the state. Emma, your camera just did the thing again.
What is this?
But no, they lost. Biden, of course, won Minnesota, which I was very happy to see. Good job, Minnesota. Now, Carnahan had a big job to do. She's not only a non-white woman in a Republican Party dealing with racism by her own admission a few years ago, but she also had a big debt problem to deal with as a party. I guess Emma's having trouble with her camera stuff.
Jeez.
A big debt problem. Which you can go into just $250,000 in debt. And so how did they deal with that problem? Well, enter a guy named Tony Lazzaro. Mm-hmm. He is a Bitcoin guy. You might be surprised to find out. Foreign exchange trader. Just a little bit of info here while Bradley puts up some of his picks with Republicans. Lazzaro grew up in a wealthy suburb of Los Angeles, a scion of a successful family. He graduated from Palos Verdes Peninsula High School in Rolling Hills Estates, a wealthy enclave in Los Angeles that has historically skewed conservative. Lazzaro's older brother, Derek, is an attorney. Now, Anton Lazzaro has recently been charged with 5 counts of trafficking minors, 1 count of attempting to do so, and 1 count of obstruction of the investigation into his trafficking those miners. And I think that's just going to happen every time, Emma.
Mm-hmm.
So you might
I'm giving up.
Leave it like that. But so let's move now to, and I just missed my sound sheet, but I want to get to what do I have next on that, Bradley? Was it the podcast? So let's hear some local Minnesota reporters, and this is a cross-partisan podcast called Wrong About Everything. So you hear a couple of Republicans characterizing Lazzaro, and this will be important. Think about how the local Republicans are talking about Lazzaro here, and how we'll get to how national fascists are. But yeah, here's Wrong About Everything.
Allegations, but local media did not at all. Like it was silent. And
So-
they were serious allegations.
Right.
too.
And so okay,
Pause
so
it
why
1
does
second.
all
I
this
skipped one part, which is Lazzaro has developed a relationship with this Carnahan here as a money guy. He's a donor. And so you're a party deep in debt. We talk about that being an opportunity for certain maybe less scrupulous people to get advantage.
Right.
And I mean, for instance, we don't know who paid off Justice Kavanaugh's debts.
Oh, from all of those baseball cards.
Exactly. So
and Nats game.
So we'll see what the kind of trouble debt can get a party into, which is that, of course, we got this guy throwing money around, this Bitcoin entrepreneur from a wealthy California family. He was staying at the Hotel Ivy. He had his place of residence in this luxury hotel raided by the FBI last December. And I just want to read a few of the details of that. Sorry, I have this a little bit harder to produce and do a show than...
Yeah, and for some reason, this is when our tech decides to fall apart, even though this has never happened before, even if you're not sitting at that chair, but fine.
So last December, FBI raided his downtown Minneapolis condo, seizing $370,000 in cash, which is, I will say, more than the Republican Party owed in debt. Just cash from his condo. Not only was that cash seized, but money in 10 foreign currencies, nearly $1 million in precious metals, and more than a dozen cell phones was raided last December. Now,
Indiana Jones over here.
Yeah, exactly. Now let's play the radio clip first. Actually, sorry, of let me go back to Carnahan denying that she knew this guy terribly well. If you have that one ready, because because basically Carnahan is, and I should say, Carnahan is married to Jim Hagedorn, who represents Minnesota's 1st district as a congressperson. He should also get some heat for this, as we'll see in another clip. But go ahead, play this.
You know, you talk about how you can't vet all of your donors, and you have thousands of donors, and I'm sure you're grateful for all of them. This is a donor that you not only had a podcast with. He was at your wedding. Someone wrote me and said he was at your bachelorette party. This is a person who may have covered payroll for the party when payroll was not being made. So I think it's hard for a lot in the community, as well as me, to believe that you didn't know him well enough. And according to court records, Mr. Lazzaro's place was raided in December of 2020. So how could the party not know that trouble was brewing, given his presence in the party well into 2021?
Well, I mean, I guess I would say I don't know how we would know it was raided unless that was public information. But I mean, yeah, he was invited to our wedding, but there were a lot of other Republicans invited to my wedding, right? Senator Karen Housley was invited to my wedding, right? There were some of our activists, other donors were invited to my wedding, absolutely. But to insinuate or assume that I would know anything about this or have any idea is just categorically false. And honestly, I think it's a bridge too far, and I think it's wrong. There were so many Republicans in our party who knew and were friends with Mr. Lazzaro. Many Republican elected officials who knew or accepted contributions from him, other activists, other grassroots leaders. But how can you hold all of us accountable for his actions, which we didn't know about?
Now, let's put up the podcast artwork, if we could, Bradley. And you'll remember, I don't know why that's happening to you, my apologies.
Yeah, that's all right. But I'm actually just going to stop my video.
You'll remember when Bill Gates was asked about the Epstein thing. He's like, a lot of philanthropists talk to Jeffrey Epstein. Look at this. Truth Matters, the Minnesota GOP's podcast with Jennifer Carnahan and Tony Lazzaro. So the idea that this is just, he was at my wedding is a bit far-fetched. And let's play this. Let's go back now, if you can, to this this other podcast here, Wrong About Everything, where you hear the two Republicans discuss Tony Lazzaro.
Huffington Post and a few, I think one or two national publications referenced or looked into the allegations, but local media did not at all. It was silent. And they were serious allegations.
Right.
Too.
And so okay, so why does all this matter? What does it have to do? Well, it has to be because Tony Lazzaro, who has now been indicted on at least 6 counts of trafficking minors, was a very close friend, I would say, and a big time donor to the MNGOP for Chair Carnahan, and also to her husband, who is Congressman Jim Hagedorn down in CD1.
Yeah, this morning, Brian Bax, the reporter where's he with now? He's
with NPR.
NPR. Yeah. Everyone's at NPR now.
Yeah. He tweeted, multiple people who have worked at or closely with the Minnesota GOP have contacted me to stress how close Anton Lazzaro is with current Chair Carnahan and Representative Hagedorn. They travel together, attend social events, and he was among 50 or so guests at their wedding.
He has not been to any of my weddings.
Okay. And he had so many opportunities.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. Weren't you at that wedding?
I also attended the wedding of Congressman Hagedorn and Jennifer Carnahan. This was 2018. And he was there. I have met Tony Lazzaro, I think 4 times. 3 of the times were with Chair Carnahan. So, I'll say that. And
how did he come off to you?
Yeah, I mean, exactly as you would think. Look at his Instagram and you can see how it is, right? He was like slickster, like it just always felt like odd, and I could never understand exactly what his job was. He talked about how he like was dealt in gold, and I'm like, well, what does that mean? Like, how do you make money as a gold dealer? I don't understand. Actually, I sat at the table with him at the wedding, and I couldn't tell you what he did. He had his girlfriend there. She seemed kind of lost, and frankly, she at the time struck me as like she said she was 20 years old. I was like, what is? It was just it just always felt like, what the hell is going on here? He didn't.
So, but he was a donor. So this is the type of people that we rub shoulders with. Now. He's the type of guy who is shirtless in Ferraris. That's on his Instagram.
Well,
pictures.
I mean, good vibes. That's the kind of person I want at my wedding.
Now, the other thing this guy did, and this goes into this fundraising thing, is a lot of people won't know because Ilhan completely swamped her challenger, Lacey Johnson, in the previous election. That was the number one fundraising election in Minnesota that year. Even though the challenger didn't have a chance. The challenger's name was Lacey Johnson. We talked about Alan West and Larry Elder particularly recently. This is Lacey Johnson is another like black Republican, sort of like empty suit.
Right.
And his campaign manager, Tony Lazzaro. So so that brings us to
frequent wedding guest Tony Lazzaro.
That brings us to Tucker Carlson. And so we've heard kind of the damage control by local Republicans. Everyone is kind of washing their hands of him. Like, I was at that wedding, but you know what? The people you need to be looking at are Carnahan and Hagedorn. But of course, the entire Republican Party is guilty in their association with this guy, in part because of the nasty, disgusting things that they're using to campaign on, particularly against Ilhan Omar. So let's play this Tucker Carlson clip, and we'll look at how the national fascists, or the international fascists, I guess we should say.
Does he mention Lazzaro by name in this?
No, but Lazzaro's the guy who, so...
We should give that context,
Let's give this, so this context, and they give this in the clip as well, but Tony Lazzaro apparently was hiring private detectives to validate the smear about Ilhan and her supposed brother or whatever. Yeah. Completely unsubstantiated, standard, fair, conservative bullshit. And this money man, this riding private jets around and allegedly sex trafficking minors, apparently also had some time to hire private investigators and do some DNA samples. So with that context, let's hear these two fascist bullshit.
That actually happened, it turns out. And now we're learning the FBI had evidence to confirm it, but didn't do anything about it. Miranda Devine is an actual journalist. She works at the New York Post, where she writes a column. She joins us tonight to explain what exactly happened. Miranda, thanks so much for coming on.
Pleasure, Tucker. Well, some basically Republican operatives up in Minnesota decided to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on private investigators to really find out if Ilhan Omar was a genetic match, the DNA match, to the man who was her second husband. They went to 3 continents. They found a cigarette butt and a drinking straw, which they sent it to a DNA laboratory and found conclusively that the DNA matched, that the second husband was a sibling, according to this DNA sample. So the very day that they were going to unleash this on the world, and in fact I was interviewing one of the people involved, the FBI swooped on the gentleman, Anton Lazzaro, from this Republican PAC up in Minnesota, and arrested him on some different charges. Who knows whether he's guilty or not guilty. I mean, he's not guilty until proven, but he's in jail, and so his story never got to see the light of day. I mean, luckily he'd told the FBI they were not interested. They told him the statute of limitations had run out. We managed to see the website before he took it down, before he was arrested, and managed to report the story such as it was.
I wonder, just kind of spitballing here, what will be more shocking to her fellow liberals? The fact that Ilhan Omar had an incestuous marriage to her own brother, or that she smokes cigarettes? Which will they be more stunned by?
Definitely the latter, and they've got photographs of her smoking the cigarette, so I don't think that's at all in doubt.
Just chicken shit, the way that they make it a joke instead of and also like a kind of arm's length the story, but still validate it that way.
Right, exactly. And again, as it was mentioned, the source of this is this child trafficking or sex trafficking person.
Yeah, 5 counts of sex trafficking minors, 1 count of attempting to do so. And he said to the Daily Beast, this isn't like a Matt Gaetz thing or whatever you're thinking of, which is not something that I ever want to have to say to a publication. This is not like that Matt Gaetz stuff going on.
It's actually might even be worse.
It sounds an awful lot like what you would have thought from that investigation, which is, I mean, a student from St. Cloud, Minnesota, who is apparently associated with Lazzaro, has been arrested in sort of association with that. Gross stuff by Lazzaro. And I mean, the thing I want to make is like there'll be a lot. I expect Tucker and the people invested in smearing Ilhan Omar nationally will try to continue to, cast aspersions about this. The local party, this is a problem for them. But it should be a much bigger one. This is not confined to like Hagedorn and Carnahan. This Ilhan Omar smear is in line with everything I know about that state party, which is just sort of capitalize on the grossest type of bigotry for campaign purposes, and then act like you're just talking about free markets or whatever. Everyone at, for instance, like the St. Cloud Republican Party, you should the St. Cloud University Republicans who had the person arrested, stop being Republicans. Just stop doing that, I would say, because this is the type of depravity that party, particularly in Minnesota, is capable of and conversant with. Yeah, I mean, that's all I have to say about that.
And I just want to be clear for context. Some of these pictures were a little bit too kind of like out of resolution, but like Tony Lazzaro has pictures with Mike Pence, Marco Rubio, Trump, and Tucker Carlson himself. And the woman who was speaking about being at the wedding was former Minnesota Senate Majority Leader Amy Koch with a conservative strategist named Brian McDaniel. So like these, this is not just like you said, Matt, confined to Carnahan or Hagedorn just because like they know him and are friends with him. Like, this guy was completely ensconced and entrenched within but not only the state party, but like the national party as well.
Yeah, exactly. No matter what happens with, I'm not sure Hagedorn hasn't stepped down as far as I know. But even if he does, this party is still going to do these base, vile attacks on Ilhan Omar. And they're still going to run on the sort of CRT panic. They're still going to be cultivating anti-mask sentiment. These are evil people, and I think I'm glad that one of them has been found out as such. But let's not stop there, folks. But with that said, I think I'm going to revoke this captain's chair and let Emma and try to.
I like you in that chair, Matt.
Folks, there's more of what you've just saw where that came from. That's if you hit the subscribe and like button. Thank you. Really, thank you.